Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Today it's time for a quick tip, and I thought we could talk about jump rings. I've had a lot of people over the years who have transitioned from doing beadwork into actual silversmithing take my classes, and many of them were so used to purchasing jump rings pre-made that they had a hard time transitioning into making their own jump rings. And I think that's a good idea when you move into silversmithing because it's pretty easy and you'll save yourself a lot of money. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and let's get started. So this is one of my design idea sketchbooks that you can get on my merch store. This particular one has some useful solder flow temperature information for various types of solder on the back. Some of the other ones have conversion charts or ring sizing charts and things like that. So I think they're pretty useful. The key feature for me is it allows me to keep track of my projects in it. And so I always have a record of what I've done in case I want to go back and revisit it. And it also has this dot matrix in the background, which makes it much easier for me to draw better pictures, because pictures are not really my general art form. So let's find out what we're doing today here. Okay, so today we don't really have a project. We're just going to talk about jump rings and making jump rings. I did a quick perusal online to see what some of the different jump ring making systems go for now, and I found things from $24, which are very basic, up to about $275, and there's probably even more expensive ones you can get as well. What I really wanted to talk about mostly is that when beginners start getting interested in this, there's a tendency to go out and buy all sorts of tools that you maybe don't need right off the bat. And I wanted to save you a little money at the beginning because it's super easy to make jump rings, and rather than forking out $275 of your budget that you may want to spend on some other tools that are more important, I'm going to show you how to make real simple jump rings and a pretty fail-safe system. So there's a number of different ways to do it. I'll show you two basic ways that I do it, and then we can even make some square jump rings if you want. I found a little piece of square brass stock that I can use to do that. So the first thing I would suggest is that one of these multiple cylinder bail making pliers like this are really great for making jump rings. So let's say I wanted to make some 18 gauge jump rings of a particular size. I can kind of estimate which one of these is going to work out best, or even test make one. But what you can do is when you grab it in here and just start spinning it like this, you just open it, twist it a little, open it, twist it a little, open it, twist it a little, open, like that. And you can make it as long as you want. It'll just kind of head right off of this particular cylinder as you go. And you can make it as long as you want. Now I try to make them right next to each other like that so I get a nice neat spring, and then you can snip off as many as you want. A lot of the jump ring making systems use some sort of bit that goes on your rotary tool that cuts through a slot or whatever, and you can do it that way. You can even do it with a saw if you want to. The thing about doing it with a saw, it's hard to kind of hold it in place while you're doing that, because especially with flimsier wire, it's going to move back and forth on you a little bit. But honestly, you can make really nice rings if you have some of these Xuron cutters that cut flush on one side. It's not a perfect cut, but it's pretty good. And so this side is the side that leaves a flat mark, or leaves a flat side. This side leaves a beveled cut. So for each jump ring, I'm going to have to actually, to get a nice flat end on it, on both sides, I'm going to have to cut it twice. So I'm going to cut once into this first ring here. Hopefully you can see that. Snip that off. And then in order to get a pretty flat side on the other cut, which is going to make the other side of this jump ring, I'm going to flip this over and tuck it in as tight as I can up against that first cut and cut into the second loop of the ring, just like that. Okay? And that will get you a reasonably good end on it, so it's pretty close. You may not even have to file it. Now these ones are a little bit older, so the jaws aren't perfectly lined up, and sometimes you may need to open it up like this a little bit and do a little filing on the end, just to make it nice and flat. And that's easy enough to do. So you could sit here and spin up a little spring like that and make yourself 100 jump rings very quickly if you wanted to, and then make nice jump rings like that. So another thing that I do sometimes is if I don't have let's say I don't have a pliers that has the right size cylinder for something I want to make. Say I wanted some bigger jump rings like this. I use my dapping punches because they have all different sized shafts on them, and so I can pick one out that's kind of in the range that I want. Or I oftentimes just keep a lot of little pieces of cylindrical stock around. Like I have a lot of these little brass rods in various sizes, and those are great for just grabbing onto and using to make rings around. But what you can do is just, on these bigger ones, just grab it and spin it around it like this. It's going to spring back a little bit and make for a slightly bigger jump ring. But you can do that, you know, as far as you want and just end up snipping off jump rings just like we did before. So a nice big one like that. So one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that if you need really small jump rings, sometimes you can use a piece of thicker silver wire, like this is 16, which is one size up from 18 gauge, which I use a lot of, or you could use 14 gauge or something else, and you can use that to wrap the wire around and get a pretty small ring if you want some really tiny ones. I do this a lot for jump rings I use on earrings, and I'll use 20 gauge a lot of times. So, but you can get pretty small rings that way too. So that's a handy way to make little dinky ones, and you cut them off just the same as you would the other ones. You can even do different shapes if you want. Like I said, I found this piece of, I got this square stock that's brass, and we can probably wrap some around that as well. I would probably, if I was going to do this, start it by making a sharp bend in it a little bit, so we can get it started on there pretty easily. You could, if you wanted to, clamp something on there, but I think probably if we just kind of tightly wrap it around there, and maybe even squeeze it a little bit with these nylon jawed pliers, we can make ourselves some nice little square rings. If you had some triangular stock of some sort, you could make triangular jump rings or whatever, or octagonal if you can find something that's octagonal shape. So, but just like we did before, these are going to rotate a little bit because they're got flat sides on them, or flattish sides. Do the same way. I would not end them at the corners on these ones. I would end them in the middle of the side like that. And then just like before, flip the cutter around and just cut it off so you get a relatively flat side. So now we got... The other thing is you don't always want a jump ring that's in, you know, the size, this is 18 gauge, but sometimes I need a little bit thicker jump ring, or I want to do it with square wire or whatever. And rather than buying them or using one of those expensive jump ring systems, it's very easy just to wrap some different stock around. Here's a 16 gauge round ring that I made that I haven't trimmed down yet. But you know, ideally, it's probably a good idea to just have a bunch of these made in advance in different sizes and different gauges. That way, you can probably speed up your process a little bit and just have a box full of different jump rings that you can pick out if you need. I think doing something like that would probably be a time saver, and I may end up doing something like that too, because I'm always short on time. So tell me, what is your process for making jump rings if you do that yourself? I'm always curious. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your process. So again, maybe don't spend all of your money on an expensive jump ring maker until you've got a little bit of experience under your belt and you have a little extra cash from all of the jewelry that you've made. it's definitely not one of those primary things you need to have at the beginning. Get yourself a good pair of bail making pliers and some dapping punches, and make all the jump rings you want. All right, well, I hope there was at least a little bit of useful information there for you, especially if you're a beginner. And if you did find some useful stuff here today, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button before you go. That helps to get my channel promoted, and I really appreciate that. I would also love it if you'd go over to my main channel page and check out some of my other content. I've been making 3 videos per week for about 4 years now, so there's a large quantity of video content there for you to peruse. I think you're almost certain to find something either interesting or useful over there, so check it out, and I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel as well. There's no cost to subscribe, and you can even check the bell if you want to get notifications of when I release them. However, I can just tell you I release them on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So before I go, though, I wanted to thank some groups of people. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters, and I really appreciate their support. Not only do they provide me with some financial help, they also have created a really nice environment over there where we can share ideas and chat with each other and post images of what we're working on and get advice from each other. So it's a really nice artistic sort of community. So thank you for making it that way, and thank you for all of your support. You guys are awesome. The other group are my YouTube subscribers, and we just passed 26,900, which is awesome and amazing. Thank you for that. I really love the comment section on my YouTube channel because 99% of the time I'm getting really positive comments, and I love the fact that you guys like to share your processes with me, and thank you for sharing your stories as well. It's really moving sometimes when I find out that I've helped someone in some way, so thank you for that. Thank you also for your financial support, the Buy Me a Coffees, the Super Thanks, buying my merch or my ebooks. All of that stuff really keeps my channel sustainable, and I couldn't probably do it without your help, so thank you for that. Finally, visit the video description down below. There's some information about this video, and there's some important links. If you wanted to find out more about my Patreon, it's a nice place, like I said, and there's multiple tiers of membership, the lowest one being just getting rid of the YouTube advertisements. The other tiers offer things like video tutorials exclusively made for Patreon or live streams. I had a live stream this morning with a group of my patrons, and it was really nice. I got to talk with some people overseas as well as some people in America as well. So it was a nice chat. It's nice to get to know them a little bit and associate a name with a face, and I really enjoy that. So maybe it's a good place for you too as well, so check it out. There's a link to my merch store if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea sketchbooks I talked about, or some other cool merch. You deserve a present, so you should get yourself something. Finally, there's a link to my newest ebook, which is the Guide to 2025's YouTube tutorials. There's a page for each of the ones that I did during 2025. There's a link from that page to the video. There's also a picture of the sketch that I drew, a picture of the final outcome, a list of materials that it took to make it, some stone information if I used a stone, difficulty rating, and some notes I took about the project itself. Did I learn something from it? Did I figure out a new way to do something, or would I have done it differently if I was to repeat it? Did I think the outcome was good or not? I don't always have an outcome that I'm pleased with, so I think it's a great way to have a whole bunch of projects right at your fingertips, and a really super nice way to support my channel. So you can even get the past 3 years as a group book where you get all 3 of them, and you get $15 off if you buy the 3 together. And there's a smaller discount if you buy any 2 of them together. There's different packages you can get. So check it out. You'll never run out of projects. All right, well, thanks for watching today. Take care. Happy silversmithing.